Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Ulf Hollinder. I'm chairman of the supervisory board of MPC Energy Solutions NV, and I would like to welcome you to this annual general meeting. In particular, I would like to welcome all shareholders. I would like to welcome my fellow board members, and I would like to welcome the two representatives of the management board, Mr. Martin Vogt, the CEO, and Mr. Stefan Meixner, the CFO of the company. This meeting will be held physically in our offices in Amsterdam, as well as online, to allow for all shareholders to participate regardless of where they are domiciled. Prior to running through the agenda and addressing the topics, I would like to make a couple of more formal remarks. Number one, this meeting will be conducted in English. All shareholders that were registered by March 21st were invited to this AGM and were able to cast their votes by proxy. This AGM, this annual general meeting, will be streamed as a live event, and the recording will be made available on the company's website right after the meeting. Votes were already cast by proxy prior to the AGM, and the results will be formally announced during this annual general meeting. And last but not least, Mrs. Heike Hülle was appointed secretary of this annual general meeting and has been asked to take the minutes of this meeting. All shareholders were able to ask questions prior to the AGM, but you will also be allowed to raise your questions and raise your hand during this annual general meeting. And with that, I would like to turn over to the management team, in this case, Mr. Martin Vogt, the CEO of the company, to take us through the agenda item number 2, the business report and the outlook from the management board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulf. Good morning and welcome, dear shareholders. Thank you for joining us today. Your presence here is a testimony to your support and interest to the company. It's a pleasure to engage with you today here in this live webcast and to give you an update on our business. First of all, I would very much like to congratulate our teams in Colombia, Germany, Netherlands, and Panama. I'm extremely proud of how our team's gone above and beyond to develop, build, and operate the projects in a continued challenging environment while standing by our communities. Thanks to our teams on the ground, our greatest achievements in 2022 were certainly the successful construction activities in Colombia, Puerto Rico, and El Salvador. We are very pleased to see these projects turning into operating assets now in 2023. In January, our first CHP project in Puerto Rico started to produce power, supplying a leading pharmaceutical company with reliable, affordable, and low-carbon power. Later in February, our second project, the 21 megawatt peak solar park Santa Rosa and Villa Sol in El Salvador, commenced operations, shortly followed by our 12 megawatt peak solar park Los Girasoles in Colombia later in April. Furthermore, we completed the mechanical construction of our second solar park in Colombia with an installed capacity of 26 megawatt peak very recently. This solar park will be connected to the grid in July, growing our portfolio to a total of 5 operational assets in Mexico, Colombia, Puerto Rico, and El Salvador. And in 2023, we continued building momentum. We secured recently 2 new power purchase agreements, long-term contracts in US dollars, for more than 150 gigawatt hours of annual power for a solar park in Guatemala and our second CHP project in Puerto Rico. The assets will be operational in the coming 12 to 18 months and growing our contracted power sales to more than $430 million. Building on these achievements and our high growth ambitions, we have set medium-term targets for the company with the aim of having our first 1,000 megawatts in operations or under construction by no later than 2027. To achieve this milestone, we'll continue to grow our project developments, engage in strategic partnerships, and acquire pipelines where suitable. In 2023, we allocate $3 million for new project developments in our core and new markets. Our development expenditure will further grow in 2024 and 2025 to reach about 800 megawatts of ready-to-build projects by the end of 2025. I'm excited to see that the fundamentals of our strategy to be the one-stop shop and preferred partner for private corporates, utilities, and distribution companies for sustainable energy solutions in Latin America and the Caribbean is taking off. I'm very optimistic about our future. Detailed information about our market view, strategy, and operations were also shared very recently during our Capital Markets Day, and the recording is also available on our website. I thank all shareholders and business partners for their continued trust in supporting our vision to making clean energy happen. We are committed to continue delivering value to all our stakeholders. And now I'm happy to hand over to Stefan, CFO, who will provide information about the financial performance of the company in 2022 and 2023.
Thank you, Martin. 2022 was the first financial year in which our company generated revenues and operating profits from our projects. Namely, income was generated from selling electricity under our long-term PPAs in Mexico for our solar PV plant Los Santos 1, and from energy trading for our solar PV plant Los Girasoles in Colombia. Overall, these projects contributed $3.6 million in revenues in 2022 and $2.1 million in project-level earnings before interest, taxes, amortization, and depreciation, or EBITDA for short. Accounting for overhead expenses, depreciation, amortization, and other income and expenses, among them gains from bargain purchases related to acquisitions, as well as financial expenses such as interest on project finance loans, our company recorded a consolidated net loss of $5.6 million in 2022. The changes in our financial position, including a significant increase in property, plant, and equipment, capitalized development expenses, and acquired intangible assets, underline the progress that we have made in 2022, as several of our projects in Colombia, Puerto Rico, and El Salvador were still under construction. A significant part of these construction activities was financed from our own cash reserves, but we also raised project finance debt for some of our projects. Overall, we completed the financial year 2022 with total assets of $129 million on a consolidated basis, of which $24.2 million were cash and cash equivalents, indicating that we are still sufficiently funded. Our equity of $75.4 million is equivalent to an equity ratio of nearly 60% at the end of December 2022. As we as the management have previously said, the current setup of our organization has been created to significantly expand our asset base. In the first quarter of this year, with the plants we connected to the grid and the new contracts we signed that Martin mentioned, this expansion is actively underway, and we expect our financial performance to reflect this in 2023 already. Our company remains well capitalized and has sufficient funding to continue its planned expansion, and in 2023, we anticipate revenues to nearly triple compared to 2022, exceeding $10 million this year already. With that, I conclude our report and give the word back to our chairman, Ulf Holländer.
Yes, thank you both, Martin and Stefan. I would like to add that also on behalf of the supervisory board, we would like to thank both of you for your efforts in 2022. Significant inroads have been made in bringing the company forward and moving towards the next target, and the same applies with sincere thanks from the supervisory board as well to your entire team. Thank you. With that, we reach agenda item number 3, questions from shareholders. No questions have been submitted prior to the AGM, but I can ask participating shareholders now to ask any questions if suitable. That does not seem to be the case right now. So then we can move over to the agenda item number 4, the voting results. The holders of 4,616,363 shares exercised their voting rights directly or via nominees. The votes represent 20.8% of the total share capital, and they were accepted. The voting results are as follows. On resolution number 1, the adoption of the financial statement for 2022, all votes that have been rendered, 4,616,363 voted in favor of approving the consolidated financial statements and the annual report of the company. Both were published on March 31st. Net loss for the year was $5.6 million. Total assets amounted to $129 million. Resolution number 2, discharge of the management board for the financial year 2022. Again, all votes were rendered in support of discharging the management board, meaning both Mr. Martin Vogt, CEO, and Mr. Stefan Meixner, CFO of the company, and they were the only members of the management board in 2022. So the resolution is passed as well. Resolution number 3, the discharge of the supervisory board for the financial year 2022. The supervisory board consisted of Mr. Injas van Menen until September 1st of last year, Dr. John Benjamin Schröder as of September 1st of last year, Mr. Kjell Roland, Mrs. Catherine Baker, and Mrs. Ellen Harneto. And those people, including myself, obviously were the only members of the supervisory board during the financial year 2022. And the resolution was passed again with 4,616,363 votes, no votes against and no abstentions. The resolution number 4, the appointment of the auditor for the financial year 2023. It is proposed that we re-elect Ernst & Young Nederland LLP and Zwolle for another 1-year term as auditors of the company. Ernst & Young have been auditors of the company since the get-go, and they are very familiar with the complex legal structures, the financial history of the company, and the strategic targets. We have agreed, meaning the management and Ernst & Young have agreed on a very competitive fee structure for the company's annual report and the auditing of the financial statements for the financial year 2023 as well. And again, all votes that were submitted, 4,616,363 voted in favor of appointing Ernst & Young, so the resolution is passed as well. To the best of my knowledge, there are no additional matters to be attended to during this meeting, so no other business. And with that, and with again sincere thanks to the team for preparing for this AGM, and the best wishes of all shareholders, I guess, and my supervisory board members for the successes and reaching the targets in 2023. I would like to conclude this AGM wishing you all the best and thanking you all for your support. Thank you and bye-bye.